Yes.
What you put it on. And I wanted to accept every subject that you put on.
And I accept discussing the dispute, but not acting on it this evening, because I'm not gonna ask you to act on any of these things either, because you need to talk to your colleagues as well.
Well, then I think we maybe have a little different understanding what this committee is for. I thought you all had the authority to speak for the council on terms, on things that come before this committee. You're gonna have to go back and get their approval for every vote you take.
My take from when you read through my take is, at least in the annexation agreement, the JPRC has never acted in its life. It can't. It makes recommendations. It recommends approval of CPAM.
Okay.
It recommends things. So it officially can't vote for or against something. It can make a recommendation to its respective body.
Agreed.
And so
Agreed.
I think that's the point that the mayor is trying to say.
Well, I understand that, but I'm confused. It sounds as though you're reluctant to draw any conclusions without first going back.
No,
to the
no, I mean,
council.
no,
That's what's confusing me as a new member.
I think Tom's point is that whatever we discuss and decide, so that it says it's not written, I have a corporate body that I have to go back to and say, you know, the committee's made a recommendation that there's a dispute.
I understand that.
And that one of the remedies is an arbiter. I cannot make that decision on my
I
own.
understand that, but you could, as a member of this committee, make a recommendation, could you not, to your town council? I'm
Yeah, well, I
confused.
guess whatever, I guess at the end of the day, the recommendation with respect to this one particular issue, is there a dispute? First of all, we have to decide whether there is there one or not.
Okay.
I think maybe part of it is to say, there may be items that we discussed that all members of your body aren't, all members of ours, and I like to tell them, I may tell them, yes, I recommended that, here's why I recommended it, here's what the discussion was. Do you have any opinion that differ than mine?
Okay.
Do you have any water? Can you get a bottle of water?
Absolutely.
Martha?
Autumn Hill.
Autumn Hill.
What's,
Well, what's the problem? Well, guess what it is, Peggy? I mean, it was approved many years ago, before anyone here served in office, for 492 units. It's not something,
They're not subject to any other provision?
not subject to any other provision. It is grandfathered in. The folks who have now bought it have,
I'm sorry, I mean, but they're proffers.
but there's proffers that are woefully inadequate. They have come, the new owners have come to us and said, we'd like to be annexed for 250 units. And we're willing to, by restrictive covenant, say, we'll only build 250 units, so on and so forth. Council has severe concerns about doing something with restrictive covenants. A bankruptcy can eliminate restrictive covenants.
and there's a question of whether or not restrictive covenants trump proffers.
That's right. And
I talked with our attorney shortly, and I don't have a clear understanding of that. The proffer was for 492 or 96 units, and also the key proffer was that they could not proceed unless they got central utilities from the town. So it has been in the town's bailiwick since 1990, since it passed. The board that passed it was before I.
yes, I do. Yes, I know.
I would just tell you this, I don't support that proposal as it was structured and passed, and I don't support the restructured proposal that's before you. I could support a scale and density development on that property that is similar to the Chestnut Hills and Wright Farm. I think anything beyond that is too intense out there, and that's just where I am. As far as what happens if you know, we have to resolve this phasing dispute. Well, they were different. They're different. They're not subject to it. You're correct. And so I think the legal ramifications between covenants and proffers has to be ironed out. If you decide to proceed with them, in some fashion, I think you will need towns, or the county's assistance in sorting all that out, because they may have to go through a regulatory or a legislative process with us to change what was agreed to many years ago. So there's an awful lot of uncertainty around that.
Well, that's.
But I just want to make sure you understand, I don't support that project, and I would not have voted for it, and I've been on the board.
I understand there is an inactive application with the county.
They-
Or was inactive.
At one time, the proposal was filed to do something with respect to their own septic on the property.
To name one of the profit
To
conditions.
amend
It
one of
is
the
in-
proper
it is
conditions, and
proper.
that is,
It's, I don't think
No.
it's active, but that's nowhere.
Apparently not.
So,
I agree with you, there needs to be regulatory action at the county level. And that's the conundrum. I think
well, why don't we ask the two staffs
it
to take a
behooves us
look
to
at
get
it,
this
to
resolved.
figure out what needs to be done. Is your council inclined to go forward with that application favorably?
We certainly have to process it.
We have to process
They
it.
requested, at least setting aside our non-agreement on other issues that are not subject to anything else. They applied, and we have to deal with it. I just want to make sure, when you said Chestnut, that's A3, right? All of those are still A3.
Those are all still A3.
They're not less dense than that.
No, they may be, it may have,
But that was the
worked out
zoning.
that way, that was the zoning.
One of the problems with dealing with the UGA or whatever planning you want to do because of its unique status, it sits out there legally today, the single largest potential user of water and sewer capacity of anyone in jail, 150,000 gallons a day, more or less.
I
At that
agree.
density. It's tough to factor that into anything. What do you do legally? When some people have had a discussion about less dense residential development, I know some of the discussions I've had at the planning commission stage was, why does it have to be residential? One of the only reason I bring it up is from that standpoint, we've had some difficulty trying to find some locations in town for the list of things that the community came to us as we did our comprehensive plan to try to accommodate. There was a suggestion about additional industrial park development because of the problem west of Leesburg, other than the part we have that's full. That's it, you have to go over to Winchester, essentially, Berryville or Winchester to find some. It's an idea. People talked about, I mean, I'm not going to name one, but the continuous care, I mean, I call it the Westminster Canterbury thing, where you can move in and as you age, you can stay there. Well, we have no place for that in town. You know, we can't accommodate that in industrial stuff. So those are two interesting options to consider, to explore, but given its existing zoning, make that problematic. Whether the applicant would be interested in that or not, I have no idea. But from a town planning standpoint, those are two types of uses that we haven't been able to accommodate somewhere. It seems to be there's a limited number of properties that are zoned non-residential today in the JLMA.
Well, there are all kinds of things that could possibly be done with the property. I just want to make sure you understood that I don't support the high-density residential that is proposed. And one of the reasons is what you brought up. It will put a tremendous burden on you to provide primarily water. Sewer, my understanding, you can provide. I mean, you've got capacity for that, but water is a problem. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I still wish you all would sit down with us and explain to us your plans for providing water, primarily water, to the UGA. I've read your consultant's report, and it appears to me that you do not have a viable long-term strategy. But I'm
Straight
not
from the
gonna.
agenda.
I know,
That's not a
I
problem.
understand, but.
I can
you
get into
know,
that if
just-
you'd like. No, I didn't. I just said they're the single biggest largest use. I
They
didn't say
would be.
anything about our ability or inability to serve.
Well, it would
So I
stretch,
just
it would
call it
stretch
the
you.
That's an opinion, we appreciate that. But do you have any thoughts on those types of land uses? Industrial, whatever that, I don't even know what kind of zoning that is, the continuous care, I assume it's residential.
I